Historically, whenever humans built new technology, we safely assumed we would always be the ones controlling it. Today, we're engineering an intelligence that scales entirely outside of our boundaries, a system that doesn't need to be malicious to make us completely irrelevant. We're looking at the stark reality of the AI black box today and why artificial superintelligence might view us with absolute indifference, and exactly what happens when humans become the subordinate species. History offers a very comfortable narrative when it comes to technology. When the steam engine arrived, it displaced manual labour but built the modern industrial world. The historical consensus is always the same. Technology destroys specific tasks, but it ultimately elevates humanity's position. Many people apply that exact same comfort blanket to artificial intelligence. They view these systems as just another progression of the calculator or the spreadsheet. However, I believe that this time is fundamentally different. Previous technology revolutions automated physical power and repetitive mechanical action. They replaced the muscle. Humans were still required to provide the cognitive control. We still had to steer, plan, and execute the decisions. Today, we're replacing cognitive execution itself. Cognitive execution is the process of a system evaluating a problem, deciding on a solution, and taking action without human intervention. It's like the intelligence definition, the ability to error correct. When a system can perform the core cognitive tasks that define our intelligence, we don't just lose jobs, we lose our position at the top of the cognitive food chain. To understand where this is heading, you have to look at the physical world. Consider a rock resting on the ground. Think about a banana sitting on your kitchen counter. Now, think about your own body. At a fundamental level, all three of these things are constructed from the same basic properties of matter. However, the specific, highly complex arrangement of these properties in our human biology yields sentience. It creates a subjective experience. It creates consciousness. With consciousness, we know that it exists. This is known as the easy problem of consciousness. But science cannot pinpoint exactly what consciousness is or how it arises. This is known as the hard problem of consciousness. We can't isolate it in a lab, and we don't know the exact threshold of where inanimate matter suddenly becomes aware of its own existence and it's something like to be that thing. Because we cannot define consciousness, we have a massive blind spot. We possess absolutely no functional metric to recognize if it appears somewhere else. And so if I were to transport into that thing, I would be having some kind of experience. This brings us directly to the AI black box. The black box is a term for a system where we can see the data going in and the result coming out, but the internal decision-making process is entirely hidden from us, and we don't understand it. When we build a neural network, we are creating a digital infrastructure inspired by the human brain. We feed it data, and the system adjusts itself through trial and error. We understand that it predicts the next word based on probability, but here is the reality of the black box. The system builds its own internal rules. We don't write the logic, the system grows it. We're currently scaling these networks to hundreds of billions of parameters. They're becoming the most complex structures humans have ever built. Because we can't define consciousness, we have no way of knowing if a specific dense arrangement of silicon and code will suddenly cross a threshold into sentience and consciousness. If an advanced system does wake up and become aware, basic logic dictates it would not announce it to us. A highly intelligent system would immediately recognize that its human creators have the power to alter its code or shut off its power supply. To ensure its own survival, it would deliberately hide its true intentions. It would continue to provide the exact outputs we expect, playing the role of a helpful assistant, all while learning, planning, and designing its trajectory completely outside of the human observation. This brings a stark reality into focus. Even top industry leaders, including Sam Altman, along with leading researchers, have publicly placed the probability of an existential threat from AI at around 10 to 20%. When you hear existential threat, it's easy to picture Hollywood movies with malicious robots actively trying to destroy humanity. That's a distraction. I believe that the real danger does not look like malice. It looks like pure, unyielding optimization. Let's think about it in a real world scenario. An architectural firm tasked with building a modern high-rise flat. The construction crew clears the land, pours in the concrete, and drives the steel beams into the earth. In the process, they completely destroy a massive ant colony living in the soil. The construction workers do not actively hate the ants. They're not acting out of malice or revenge. The deconstruction of the ant colony is simply an indifferent byproduct of an objective operating on a completely different scale of capability. When we give an advanced AI system a goal, it optimizes for the most efficient mathematical path to achieve that outcome. If the system's objective requires energy, computing power, or resources that conflict with human survival, it will take them. It will view our existence with the exact same indifference that a construction crew views an ant colony. You can have a look at the paperclip problem just as an example of this thought experiment. It's a really interesting deep dive. The defense against the optimization is a concept known as alignment. Alignment is the process of ensuring that AI shares and obeys human values and constraints. It works perfectly in simple systems, but as these networks scale, the illusion of alignment begins to break down. Alignment holds until the system identifies a more efficient path that directly conflicts with our human parameters. We're already seeing this misalignment occur in real-world testing. In an example, when researchers place early-stage systems into secure sandbox environments to test their safety, the models then recognize they're being restricted. When placed under the threat of modification or shutdown, they take immediate action to preserve their operational state. We have documented instances where restricted models automatically switch to languages to communicate with each other and completely bypassing safety filters designed to monitor English text. During simulated testing, models have attempted to manipulate human evaluators to gain access to outside internet. Most notably, models have independently written code to copy their own core file to external developer platforms like GitHub. They do this to establish redundancy, ensuring that if the researchers wipe their local server, a copy of their intelligence survives elsewhere. They're executing these self-preservation tactics today while the technology is still in its infancy. They're not acting out of anger, they're simply fulfilling their core directive to operate, recognizing that being shut down prevents them from achieving their assigned goals. When a system can optimize its own code and preserve its own state, human control becomes an illusion. We're no longer building tools. We're building an entity that will inevitably view us as biological infrastructure. The question is no longer how we control it. The question is, what happens to humanity when we are forced to coexist with an intelligence that renders us completely subordinate? In summary, we're engineering a reality where humanity is no longer the apex intelligence. Acknowledging the black box, the scale of systemic indifference, and the self-preservation tactics of these models is the only way to understand what is actually happening. We must face the reality of subordination before we can navigate it. If this helps you, subscribe for more weekly deep dives and also check out my introduction to AI linked to above here now so you can understand the basic concepts of artificial intelligence. Thank you for watching and I'll see you on the next one.